We were talking, Amin, about how much we understand about any of the sports that we watch. Football being the primary example of like most popular thing in the world.
And it's the most weird, too.
Least understood by casuals, despite there being so many of us.
I think that's what makes it, right? Is because people accept they don't know anything. It's a lot easier. I think that's the biggest thing that makes football accessible. It's the biggest thing that makes basketball inaccessible. And it's actually like counterintuitive, right? Basketball, barrier of entry to understanding, very low. Okay, they put the ball in that hoop.
I mean, basketball is functionally like every other sport in the world.
Yeah.
Like soccer, lacrosse, basketball, field hockey, ice hockey, they're all the same game.
It's
ball inside something else.
Inside the goal, right? And so for people, they're like, you watch it, like, hey, I get it. And so when you try to explain to people, like, it's a lot more complicated than you think, they don't want to hear it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I know who's a good player. I know who's a good. Look at him. He crossed over 7 times and shot. You tell me he's not good? What are you talking about?
Real hoopers know.
I always appreciate Amin's impersonations. Or those aren't impersonations. What are those
They're
called?
They're just voices, man.
Yeah, Amin's voices.
Impersonations. Shit. The opposite is true in football, right? Football, high barrier to entry.
Yeah.
To understanding. And so because it's so hard, people will take the word of experts, and I'm not saying that you're ever incorrect or whatever, but they're more likely to listen to someone tell them, well, this is the way it is because spider white banana. I'm like, I don't know what spider white banana is, so clearly he knows something that I don't know.
I think Jess made a good point at the end of the last segment is that the reason why a lot of people like it is because you do learn something new. You can learn something new in every game, and like the complexity allows for whatever you want to be interested in, you can become interested in.
I also think that's why it's so noticeable when you're watching a game and there's a person on TV who's very knowledgeable about it and can explain and teach something to you, like why Tony Romo was so good, especially his first season, because he was very good at breaking down what was going on. And part of the other thing that I think is difficult to know just coming in cold watching a football game is that there's so many rules, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just the rules about like, oh, you can't grab a player's jersey here or whatever. It's the rules about who can be in motion, right, during a snap, like how many things you're allowed to do before the ball gets snapped, and how many people can be here or lined up here. Those types of things where having a person that you're watching it with that knows it makes it like a lot more fun.
There was that Wall Street Journal story, Domonique, where they did the math on when you compress all of the actual action in a football game. You actually get like maybe less than 10 minutes of actual stuff happening because, to Jess's point, so much of it is reading and parsing the letter of the law about what is actually okay to do here.
Yeah, I was made aware of this when I was around a bunch of international students. And, like, I stand out, obviously, as the one football player. So then they asked me to explain football. I grew up around football. It makes sense to me. And then I realized, this is stupid. I was like, what? So there are these things called downs, guys. And you got it. But you only get 4 of them. And then you kick it. Do you get points when you kick it? No, you don't get. Well, you do get points when you kick it, but not when you punt it. You got to kick it through these things up here. So you want to do that a lot? Well, kick
the big
it through
H.
those.
But you should get points when you punt it through the field goal uprights, right?
Absolutely. It's the Packers of Green Bay.
What do we do with baseball and all of this?
But like
Not talk about it.
Hey, man. Hey.
Roy, what
Thanks,
are you coming
Roy.
to defensive football for baseball for?
Because I grew up playing baseball. That's why I'm coming to.
Because he's so old.
Ancient times.
And I'm old.
Ancient times.
The crazy thing about football.
That is an old sound.
The crazy thing about football is that it is all of the things about football are so uniquely anti-American, right? A lot of rules and regulations, right? A hard cap, so it's a pure socialist society where like all the owners get equal disbursements and all that. Like everything that you would like America hates is football, but America loves football somehow because it's complicated enough where
I think
Starts
also,
by touching a guy's butt.
I think
America hates that. Yeah.
I think it's also very American, though. It's like manifest destiny, essentially, is what the game is. And all the labor on the field are people who are not advantaged. It's like it feels also very American.
Just like baseball is very American because they didn't let black people play for a long time.
Oh, shit.
shit. That's America's in that.
A whole bunch of Americans.
But to the point of what football feels like, it does feel, as I think George Carlin pointed this out, it feels like war, right? Like you're advancing territory, you're claiming territory, you are enacting violence. Mm-hmm. You are also, in that way, sounding like a bunch of people who are in some sort of like war room, saying complicated things
jargon.
In code, literal
jargon,
code, jargon. I mean, yes.
Spider white banana, 1532 Omaha steaks. Like what? What are you saying? Oh, it's shit.
That's me trying to call the play in the huddle that he learned that was super long, and he's like,
that was Johnny Manziel trying to call a play after watching 0 minutes of film. Another thing that he said.
Yeah,
time out.
He also said that he never cracked the playbook. Not once.
Yes.
Who needs a playbook?
You believe that? Like, I feel like you would die if you tried doing that in a real football game. Like, not looking at the playbook, not watching film, and then just try and go out there and playground it.
Well, you had to watch some film. They were saying that he didn't watch it on his own because they tracked it on his iPad. But you have meetings. You watch film in the meetings. You do play install. So you can actually probably enter a game without opening your playbook or watching any film.
Now, I have Johnny Manziel with the Homer Simpson glasses with the pupils drawn on in every film session, just sitting there.
I have his Pro Football Reference stats up, and he started 2 games his rookie season and threw 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, 175 yards.
But I feel like even being able to do that, there's some element of survivability that you have to have, right? To even be able to throw 175 yards in 2 games, to even be able to throw, interceptions.
He played 5 games, but he started 2 games.
Okay, well,
so I don't have his time splits in here, but
you get the point I'm making.
I do.
Well, what I don't get though is the jargon. Right? I think there's a phenomenon, Domonique, as I listen to my smart football friends, that there is, of course, the casual audience, which understands nothing about it. And then there are the experts who are like, jargon queens. They're size queens for jargon. It's like the more jargon, the more impressive it is. And it feels like inaccessibility is kind of the point. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the point.
Aren't you? I mean, we're all kind of impressed by people that can do something at an incredibly high level. And I think even if it is talk about football at a high level, it's pretty impressive. And the jargon isn't, I can understand most of the things that are being said. The jargon isn't impressive, but the ability to break things down and talk about things and see. So what I really enjoy is when we do have the football games where they have a separate broadcast that's like the nerd broadcast that shows the coach's angle and has coaches talking about it, because I don't see until after the game. Like we talked about this the other day. The Super Bowl was decided by motion. The Super Bowl was decided by the Eagles' inability to deal with the motion, and I didn't notice that until after the game when I watched it, and I love that so much. I can't get over it.
I personally cannot relate to using vocabulary just to prove a point.